I'm saying is there's a vehicle leaving the station. It's called the omnibus bill. It's bus leaving the station, omnibus bill, meaning all of the legislation for appropriations. And we must insist that we cannot have a bill leave the station that still has that ban on research in it. That is how we can honor. The bill would have bipartisan support. We've tried to do it in committee. Now we'll try to do it in negotiation. But your vigil, your voices, your honor with action initiative is more important. Your mobilization is more important than any maneuvering that we can do here. So let's try to take this opportunity to say, you want to pass a bill that has all of your priorities in it? Our priority is to remove the ban on research on gun violence. Let's do it today. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut.
On Wednesday night of last week, as I was reading all of the messages of thoughts and prayers being sent to San Bernardino, I wrote that your thoughts should be about how to end this carnage, and your prayers should be for forgiveness if you do nothing again. And that doesn't mean that thoughts and prayers don't matter. They matter to us in Newtown. I know they matter to the families that are behind us. But my religion involves partnering faith with action. What I believe is that it isn't enough any longer in order to just say we care. You have to do something to show you care. And while we have disagreements about whether the right response is a ban on military-style assault weapons or more protections to make sure criminals don't get guns or a fix to our broken mental health system, the one option that we cannot take is to do absolutely nothing. And that's what we've done. In the wake of the slaughter of 20 little first graders in Newtown, Connecticut, and the slaughter of 80 more every single day, Congress has done absolutely nothing. And that's maybe what's most offensive to me, because behind me are dozens of grieving families. But by this time tomorrow, there will be 80 other families who could join them in this room, and 80 more the day after. How cold-hearted is this place to look these families in the eye and do absolutely nothing? And you know what? It'll be you next. I dropped my first grade son off at a school this morning that is no different than Sandy Hook Elementary School. You think that these tragedies can't visit you and your family? You're wrong. They can strike anyone. This can become personal in a second. And so it's time for us to figure out what message we can send that we're serious about this, and to end a silence that has made Congress complicit in these ongoing murders.
Thank you, Senator Murphy. Now I'd like to introduce Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut.
Last night, my colleagues, Chris Murphy and Elizabeth Esty, who have been so steadfast, our delegation has been stalwart in this cause, because we have been inspired by families who attended that vigil last night. We know the importance of prayer, but prayer and platitudes are not enough. There has to be action. Congress for too long has been like the cartoon character, I know nothing. You remember Sergeant Schultz? See no evil, hear no evil. That's why the removal of that ban on research is so important. The more the American people know, the more they will be behind us. The more organized they are, the more mobilized, the more this body will no longer be silent. Congress is complicit by its inaction. Congress is complicit by failing to enact a universal background check, so we keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people. Congress is complicit by failing to enact a ban on illegal trafficking and straw purchases, a ban on people who are on the no-fly list from buying guns. If you're too dangerous to board a plane, you're too dangerous to buy a gun. No fly, no gun. And yet, Congress twice in the last week has rejected that principle. We know the importance of honor with action. Honor is not what these folks want. They're for the platitudes and prayers. They're here because they want honor with action. And their presence is more powerful than any of our words. Their stories are worth 1,000 of our words. And the acts of kindness that we have begun, Elizabeth Esty and I began in New Britain earlier this week, acts of kindness to honor with action, are a way to say to Congress, more than your speeches and your rhetoric, more than your standing in front of cameras, action is what is necessary. Honor with action, that's our message to Congress today. And just one final thought. If 30,000 people in the United States of America fell sick of flu or Ebola or polio, this nation would be up in arms. There would be drastic, effective action. 30,000 people falling sick as a result of a public epidemic, dying as a result, is a public health crisis. We have in this nation truly an epidemic of gun death and gun disease that is taking lives, 90 of them every day, and should be treated as a public health crisis. The steps that have been proposed are common sense, sensible measures.
Now our representatives will take some questions.
We were hugging over here.
So just to get down on what you said about the Dickey Amendment,
Yes.
Are you saying your caucus's position is no Democratic votes on the omnibus unless the Dickey Amendment is stricken?
What we're saying is that we, in our negotiations, that this is a priority for us to remove the Dickey Amendment. We will succeed if we have unity. And that's why you're being here at this time when people are talking about a budget, which is supposed to be a statement of our values. What's important to us as a nation is supposed to be how we allocate our resources. I'm not saying that this bill does a real reflection of our values, but children on their heads. Well, I was really thinking of toys and tricycles and all the rest. And when all the other side came at me and said, you can't have that, it was because they were concerned that we might be looking into head injuries because of guns. So this bill today would say to the NRA, you no longer have a stranglehold on information, on data, on research, on how we can make the change that is necessary. And once we have the data, we're better prepared to act upon it. I'm saying it's a very important priority for us. And from the standpoint of the people here who are so eloquent, and as the senator said, nothing we can say compares to the eloquence and the power of their message. And it is that power we want to drive through this appropriations process, and we'll see how we succeed. Quite frankly, we want more. We'd like to say, you have riders? They call them riders on the omnibus. You have riders? We want a rider. We want these other two bills on there. You know, we want the terrorist list legislation to be on that bill. That'd be the easiest thing. What could be more impossible to explain to anyone that you could be on the FBI terrorist watch list and you can still go into a store and buy a gun, and 91% of the time, those people walked out of the store with a gun of their choice. But I know others may have some comments on this, so I don't want to take any more time.
We have time for one more question before we take a photo of the banner that we have signed for the San Bernardino community.
Question over here.
Again, for Speaker Pelosi, can I ask, you mentioned the FBI terror list, but there's been a lot of references actually to the FBI's no-fly list.
It's the same list.
And a lot of critics say actually that no-fly list is deeply flawed.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I want to refer you to the debate on the floor yesterday, and I'm going to yield to Mr. Thompson to speak to that.
The terrorist watch list has been bill that we've been pushing, you're correct, it's been criticized. They say that there's people who shouldn't be on that list. And it's a pretty simple solution. First, clean up the list. Make sure the people who are on there are the people who should be on there. We don't want people who shouldn't be on there, not only for the gun purchasing reasons, but for scarce resources that our FBI has to allocate to be able to track those folks and pay attention to what they're doing. Secondly, the bill has an appeals process in it. So if you're on the list and you're not a terrorist, you can appeal that and you can get off the list. Now, you've heard me say this in 2 other times before. I'm a gun owner. I strongly believe in the Second Amendment, but I would darn sure rather err on the side of caution and inconvenience somebody who maybe shouldn't be on that list than to allow somebody who is on that list who shouldn't have a gun to be able to buy one and do terror in the United States of America.
Obviously, I'm not a member of the House, but I do want to say how important this commitment by the leader of the Democrats in the House is. For years and years and years, this provision has been entrenched in appropriation measures. And it's part of the arcane, abstruse language of the legislative process called a rider, an amendment. The American people barely know about it. drawing this line and saying this measure and its removal is a priority is profoundly significant. The gun lobby has a stranglehold, proved very powerfully just by the votes that were taken in the Senate this past week on the terrorist watch list and prohibiting people who are on that list from buying guns. And one of their arguments is, you don't have the facts, you don't have data. The reason there's no data is because this prohibition against the United States of America collecting facts and research. In a public health crisis, the most important treasure is facts, knowledge, evidence. We face a public health crisis. If the Center for Disease Control were prohibited from collecting information about Ebola, think of the outcry. That's in effect what we are doing here. We are prohibiting the United States from getting information about a threat, a lethal threat to the people of America. And for the House to take this stand, I think, is an important step. And we're here to say we're not going away, we're not surrendering, we're not abandoning this effort. We are in it for the long run. And lest anyone doubt it, just think of the Brady Bill. The President of the United States was almost assassinated just a few miles from here. Jim Brady was paralyzed for life. It still took 10 years or more to get the Brady Bill. So this fight is worth making, and the folks who are here, the most important people who are here, are the loved ones and their families who have given so much of themselves to be here and demonstrated such courage and strength. Thank you so much.
John and Lee, could you come up with our thoughts for San Bernardino? Thank you, everyone. Thank you.